Okay, so that was a scene we were actually going to play out, and Sam was going to be the mercenary, and Devin was going to be the woman that he grabbed, and she was going to rewrite the scene, and she was going to punch him. So we decided to switch it to something else. Although that would have been good. I'm not going to lie, that would have been good. But the scene that these actors, my friends, are going to play out is, it's a scene from the beginning of Argren in the rebel group Ostera. And Ostera means our struggle. They were basically destitute. They were out of food, they were out of money, they were almost ready to give up. And their leader, Alar, who you just heard about, he decided to launch an attack on a rebel caravan. And it's successful against their wildest dreams. It is successful, and what they want to find is food, supplies, and coin, so they can make it through the winter. Well, they find those, but they also find priceless Alle'oss artwork, which is not what they were expecting. And this is a turning point for the group because, one, they have money, and two, they have some success. They actually fought back successfully. So it's a great scene, but again, like the other scene, would have been pretty tough to stage. So instead, what we're going to do is these actors are going to do a scene that is 10 years later, and at this point, this is in Spirit Light, which is the next in a total of 6 novels. We'll talk with you all about it later, about the whole series and everything. But it's the next novel in the Spirit Song trilogy, or the series. Ostera tell each other this story. It's their origin story. It's the story of how they became a rebel, more rebels than rabble, because they started out so raggedy. And it's been clear, it'll be clear when you see the scene, that they've been telling each other this story many, many times. It's always told around the campfire, and they tell it to each other, among other things, to find strength to continue their struggle. Because it's, even though they're having success, it's still very difficult to do what they're doing. They're fighting this incredibly overwhelming imperial force. So one of the themes that will be in Spirit Light, which Ross is going to finish, depending on him and Kathy and how that all works out, like maybe by September, maybe. But what is important about that is the power of storytelling to change the narrative of what is possible. So we're going to go up.
We can keep it on.
My name is Matthew Colley.
Hi, I'm Victoria Letziak. I'm Ruth Ardell.
Speaking of stories, why don't you tell Minna the story of how Ostera captured Spirit Light, singer?
Can't you see I'm eating? Besides, no one wants to hear that old story again. It may be hard to believe now, sitting with such hardened warriors as these. But the Alle'oss were not always so mighty.
I love this story.
As well you should. Yes, it's true the Alle'oss were once a peaceful people, content to live peaceful lives on our mountainous land. Lives fulfilled by family, friends, and good honest toil. That was until the Empire came. Boo! Would you shoot the messenger? Yes, the Empire. The Empire found the peaceful Alle'oss easy prey. They came into our mountains, inflicting terror all across our beautiful land, committing the same depredations they inflicted on others unfortunates before us. Tell her. Tell our young Samin of their crimes.
They burned our houses.
Made us slaves.
They robbed and murdered us.
They treated us like animals.
Yes, they treated us like animals and take our dignity. But there was one man, a great man, a man who saw more clearly than anyone else what could be. When no one else did, he believed the Alle'oss could throw the Empire from our land. Alar showed us how to fight.
How?
with bows.
Oh, well, where did he get them?
Tove and Ukrit journeyed to the distant Ishin River Valley, where the spark of rebellion had fallen on dry tinder. The bowers of that valley responded when they put out the call. When they returned, Alar saw what they wrought, and he said, Tove, Ukrit, you've saved us. Yes, we are hale and hearty now. We are many and we are formidable, but it was not so then.
No, we don't believe you. Oh,
Yes, I know, but it is so. We were more rabble than rebels, vagabonds, begging for scraps, dirty, starved, alone. But while Tove and Ukrit were away, Alar, Scylla, and
Leaf!
oh.
yes, and Leaf were spreading the good news. The Alle'oss were flocking to our walls. The winter was coming. Alar needed to feed, house, and clothe so many. So we came up with a plan. A plan that would allow Ostera to strike the first blow against the Empire and steal enough to get Ostera through that first critical winter.
Well, what'd he do?
For years, he watched the supply caravan making its way to the top. He scouted for the best spot and devised a clever plan. Then he led the ragged, barely trained rebels into the mountains. They knew if they were late, they would starve. So they raced the Imps, day and night. They marched with little to eat and almost no sleep. And in the nick of time, they arrived to set their trap.
Hey!
Now, the caravan had only a small escort of Imp cavalry, so even though they were barely trained, Alar was confident the Ostera would prevail. But when the Imps appeared, it was not the cavalry, but the
Rangers!
an entire company of rangers, trained killers, the Empire's finest. What should they do? Should they run?
No!
Should they stay and fight?
Yes!
Yes! Alar knew there was little choice. Either they die by the Rangers' hands or starve in the winter. Now Tove, Alar's best and old friend, asked, what do they have in that caravan that the whole company of Rangers need to guard it? And Alar said,
Let's find out.
they waited with held breath, hiding in the forest beside the road, waiting for the opportune moment. Scylla, Alar's beloved, loosed the first arrow, and the first imp fell from his horse. The Ostera let a mighty volley, and more imps fell. But these were Imperial Rangers. Were they frightened when they saw their comrades fall?
No!
No, they struck back. A shadow fell over the Ostera as the Rangers' arrows darkened the sky. The Ostera were pinned down, hopelessly outmatched. The imps advanced, drawing their swords, preparing for bloody work.
What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. Alar said to Tove, wait here. Then he took his bow and... Well, the story is a little confused at this point. Ostera had their heads down, and each person could recount mere glimpses of the battle. But by piercing the bits together, we can construct what happened. So, as a blur, Alar, the great warrior, fell upon the imps. As a whirlwind, he moved among them, loosing arrow after arrow, appearing here, but then there, a phantom impossible to kill, a bringer of death. Like Quicksilver, he was, so the arrows could not find him. Ranger after ranger fell. The imps were terrified, of course. Imperial Rangers they may be, but they were only human. They panicked, and when they turned their full attention to saving themselves, Ostera rose up and brought about their ruin!
But, what about the painting? It's spirit light.
Well, as expected, the wagons were full of supplies they needed to survive the winter. But in one wagon, they found a chest. A chest unlike anything else they found. Ornate and heavy. Clearly, it contained something valuable. It was locked, of course, but Alar took the lock in his hand and ripped it from the chest. They opened it up, and there they were. The paintings.
Paintings? More than spirit light.
Oh, yes. There were many, and they were all by great Alle'oss masters, stolen by the Empire, The artist banished, murdered. Ukrit, a great artist in his own right, recognized what they were immediately. With trembling hands, he opened one of the letter tombs and pulled the canvas out. He rolled it out on top of the chest, and there it was. A spirit light. Beautiful. Priceless beyond measure. So Astera struck the first blow. We lived through the winter and never looked back. And we recovered the cultural treasures which inspired us through these long, difficult years.
That's it?
That's the story.
But what happened to the painting? Why is it so important to you?
Whoa. That's as far as we got.
Oh.
What happens to the painting? You have to buy the book.
Take your bows, people. Take your bows. Okay, Tim?